All right, this video is about disappearing objects phenomenon part 2. I want to go over some stories of where things disappear to, and on the internet and places they basically make it like it's mystical, like the object you're missing has fallen into a third dimension, but it hasn't. You put the object somewhere you shouldn't have, or you thought you were going to remember it was there, or it's fallen down behind something, or you've placed something on top of the item, like on your paperwork on your desk. You set yourself up. In other words, you got several pieces of paper and you're sorting through them, and you put them away. But when you put it away, you grabbed another paper on the bottom of one of them and put it in the filing system. So now, a couple hours later, you go looking for the one piece of paper that you accidentally put away. You totally forgot that you filed the first two pieces of paper, or the original ones, okay? So your paper that you need is sitting filed under something else, and you may find it like 6 months later. Frustrating as hell. Now, I constantly walk along and I notice people screwing stuff up, okay? Like I'm in the dollar store and the guy ahead of me is trying to check out, and his first two credit cards won't work, and he's getting really frustrated, okay? So he sets his phone down in a place, and there's really no counter on the dollar store checkout. There's a little display that you put your code in for your card. He puts the phone down on one side of it. Now it's not in his view. And I noticed that, and I'm like, this guy's going to walk away without his phone. And because he now can't see it. He set it on a ledge where eye level, he can't see it. So I'm watching him, and the first two credit cards don't work. Now he's going in his wallet in his pocket, and he finds the change to pay for the items. And he goes to leave, and I said, dude, your phone. What do you mean? Your phone. And I won't touch the phone. I will not touch a person's cell phone, because they get really annoyed, like, where did you find it? When I return it to them. Now I don't touch them. If I walk along on the ground, I see one on the ground, I don't touch them anymore. I got tired of returning people's cell phones to them and them arguing with me where I found it. Okay, so now I just leave it there. Let them think it's a disappearing objects phenomenon. So anyway, the guy in the dollar store, I point to the phone, and he picks it up. He looks at me. He says, I would have forgot that. I said, oh, I know. I said, I could tell by how frustrated you were trying to get the card to work that you had totally put the phone down as an instinct, and now he's dealing with the card in his wallet. He's going to put the cards in his wallet. He's going to put his change in his pocket, and he's going to think he's done. And then he's going to walk out. He's going to get in the car and drive away, and at some point he's going to realize the phone's missing. And then he's going to think it's in the car somewhere, because he totally distracted himself when his first two credit cards didn't work. Now, I one time lost a bill for an insurance company. Now, when I first started working, I had very few bills because I lived with my parents. And one of the bills I got was for my car insurance. I'd opened the letter up, and I had stairs that went up to my room. And I'd put that bill on the step. And every time I go by it, it would remind me I have to pay that bill. That was my stupid system. Okay? But it worked flawlessly until my mother's system of placing stuff she wanted to be put in the attic on the steps. So she'd come in with a box, and instead of putting it on the step that was empty, she put it on top of the bill. Well, the bill stuck to the bottom of the box because the bottom of the box had some sticky tape on it, and I saw the box there, and I put it away in the attic. And then a couple weeks later, I get a red letter notice from the insurance company that I hadn't paid my car insurance. Now, I immediately go check my checkbook, and I realize, yes, indeed, I hadn't paid my car insurance. And I turned to my mother and I said, what happened to the bill that was on the steps? I didn't do it. How did that bill disappear? Was she vacuuming and it went up into the vacuum? I knew right away my mother was involved in it, okay? And it took 9 months or whatever. When Christmas came up again, it was a Christmas box. So I went to open the Christmas box up, and as I did, I felt something flap on the bottom of the box. And it was my bill for the insurance company, okay? But that's when you're around people that don't pay attention to what they're doing. They overlap and get you. And like the one guy said, he used to blame it on the kids. And you have people in the house that don't belong in the house. They might pick something up and move it on you. Okay, now the best example of this is the doctor had my parents get me a brand new bicycle. You say, the doctor, he noticed I was lethargic, and he talked to me a little bit, and he realized that nothing really good in my life was happening, and he talked to my parents, and they decided it was time to buy me a new bicycle. Well, it wasn't Christmas, it wasn't my birthday, so they bought me a bicycle, and they really loaded it on. Okay, I was like amazed. I went over. I could tell you, I went in R&S. It was a Murray, and it was like $49, and that was a lot of money when I was a kid. And they bought this bicycle, and they bought bells and all kinds of shit on it. I had signal turns on it. I had a speedometer on it. Well, anyway, I got it home, and one of the kids in the neighborhood, he was retarded, and he was jealous of the bicycle. The whole family was jealous of the bicycle. And the woman even called my mother and was all upset with my mother that they bought me a bicycle and it wasn't Christmas or my birthday. And now their kids wanted stuff. Well, anyway, the one retard would throw it over. He'd go by the bike and he would throw it over. My mother would say something to him, call his mother. It just went on. Well, the new light that was on the bicycle, the bracket broke from the light itself. And it was the rivets. So I took it off the bike. I took it down the cellar. I drilled the rivets out. Now, while I'm working on it, the side doorbell rings, and in comes one of the kids, the brother of the retard, and he's standing there talking to me, and I'm rebuilding the light bracket with rivets, and he picks up one of the pieces, and he's like tapping it, talking to me, tapping it, and I didn't pay any attention to it. I'm drilling out rivets, put a rivet in, peen it over, and I'm sort of showing him how you work rivets, but it didn't help out. So anyway, the back doorbell rings, and it's the retard, and he's coming over for his brother. So the brother leaves. All right, so now I have the bracket on the back of the light, the new rivets in. All I have to do is go outside and put it on the bicycle. Well, there's another piece that makes the bracket, and it's gone. It's just disappearing objects phenomenon. It's gone. So I turn that workshop inside out. I clean everything. I check the garbage. I give up. A couple days go by, and the kid walks up to me. The kid that was talking to me while I was working, he goes, "Is this anything?" I wanted to kill him. First of all, the bike is getting destroyed because of his retard brother. And yeah, he had the part. When he left, when his brother said, "You got to come home," he left with the part in his hand, and that's where it went to. Okay. Now, there's so many variations of this stuff, where people, like I told you, my father mysteriously lost a bunch of tools. He'd come into my workshop in the cellar, and he says, "I'm missing a bunch of tools." And I said to him, "Well, I didn't take them, but I can tell you where they are." And he's looking at me with that. They look at you like you're freaking crazy look. Your own father, in my case, my own father, your father guarantees a lot better than this. Your father, if you told him, the tools are in the trunk of his car because he was working on something out in the yard, and he was waiting on a part to fix something. And instead of carrying the tools down to the cellar, he put the tools and his bench, his sitting bench, in the trunk of the car. And then my father looked at me like I was crazy. And all day long he kept working in his workshop, and he was getting mad at me. Somehow it was my fault. And I refused to give him any of my tools because his tools were outside in the trunk of the car. And that's as simple as it. And finally, the other day, he gave in to it. And he comes in, "Well, I don't remember." He didn't say, "I'm really sorry, I got angry with you." And I come in, well, I don't remember having the tools outside. That's not my problem. I remembered where your tools were. Now, another thing that used to happen, and I don't care anymore, okay, is I would walk down the street and I'd see a set of keys in the trunk of the car. All right? And I'd pull the keys out. I knew whose car it was. I'd walk up the steps. I'd ring the doorbell. And I'd tell them that I found their keys. Well, how did they get out there? Okay? Yeah, how did they get there? I don't know. I don't know what you did. I don't know where you were going to. But are these your keys? Yes. Well, here they are. Well, I've been looking all over for these keys. Well, you've been looking all over in the house, but the keys are outside in the trunk of the car. Now, as people get older, they do these sort of things. They leave their lights on in their car. And then when they come out, the battery's no good, and then they have to call AA. I used to go through this all the time with people. And I'd ring their doorbell, and somehow it was my fault that they left the lights on in the car. It was my fault that their keys were in the middle of the street. Okay, they get nasty. And me being a polite person, I used to just walk away and shake my head. I have a whole different attitude now. Oh, by the way, I did make 70. At 70, I don't take shit from anybody anymore. I got tired of this. And they go, well, what's the matter? I said, that's not my job. It's your job. You do it. Okay? Just because you think I'm gullible enough and nice enough to do your work, you know, like, what was it they were doing to me the other day? Oh, I walk around and clean the neighborhood, but then a couple other people try to add other things to me. Like one woman wanted me to rake leaves for free. And I said no. And and the other person wanted me to keep checking on a neighbor. I said, that's not my job. Well, that would be a nice thing. I said, my nice thing to do is I walk around and clean the neighborhood once a week. Couple things I will do. But I'm done with that. I'm done. I got nothing in return for it. But these disappearing things, you just got to break it down to what you did. You set something on top of it, and you don't see it. Or you set something on top of it and put it away, and the other thing is underneath it and went away also. Okay? Things that fall down behind things. Okay, my workbench, you can see it here. There's nothing on the back that prevents anything from falling down. Okay? So a lot of times, when I'm missing something, I look at the floor. First place I look is the floor. And I don't hear a drop, because when I'm working on something, I'm really into it. Okay? And I don't hear different tools dropping. And a lot of times, I showed you my my drawers. Okay? You see that one drawer is really loaded up with tweezers. Let's see, it's in the frame. Tweezers and pin vices. And I'll go in that drawer, and let me first look. All right, this is one tweezer. Let me look for the small stainless steel tweezer and see how long it takes to find. Okay, here it is. Okay, this son of a bitch constantly goes into the third dimension. Okay, and it goes from my hand, from using it, into that drawer. And sometimes I can go back and forth in that drawer several times, and I can't find that tweezers. And then when I'm done using the pair I don't like, and I put them away, I see the other ones. And that's another thing. The teacher in Reds, Mr. Whalen, gentlemen, used to talk like between Elmer Fudd and W.C. Fields. That's what his voice was like. And he would say, the eyes look, but they don't see. And in other words, you're looking up and down on your bench in the mess, and you don't see the tool you want. And like I said, it can be behind something. Really cool stuff that can happen. I don't know if I can. I almost didn't find the tweezers a second time. Oh my God. Okay. Something like this. Now, I don't know if you can see this light fixture. Okay? Back here. You push this light backwards, and the tweezers go like this on you. All right? And now you're looking for the tweezers. They're back here. They're sitting back here. And you push the light back, all right? And the tweezers they're hidden, okay? And that's what I'm telling you, one of the things. And then when you go to clean up, and you've been frustrated, you got the job done, you go like that, there's the frickin' tweezers, okay? That's one of the things. And I had one friend of mine call me up, and he said he couldn't find a certain receipt. He was going through the house. I said, go back to the first place you were looking and stand there. And I said, you have other paperwork with it? Yeah. I said, look the paperwork over. Sometimes you tend to remember the piece of paperwork as being blue or red, and it's actually white, and it's right in front of you, like that guy Whalen would say. The eyes look, but the eyes don't see. In your mind, you think the bill is blue in color because you did do a bill that was blue in color maybe the day before or even maybe that day. And in your mind, you're looking for a piece of paper that's blue or red, and it's really just white. So go back to this area and go through each piece of paper one at a time and actually read what it is. And you might find it that way. But a lot of weird, tricky things your brain does to you, you know. And I told you, roll of duct tape, I never recovered it. The sound tube, I bought a sound tube. I looked at it. I saw that you could charge it through the USB port. I put a USB power supply on it and charged it. The next time I got the sound tube out, I looked at the face of it and I saw one of those charge jacks, the round ones. And I immediately started looking for that cable. And that cable did not exist. I had to actually make that cable. But months later I started thinking, I said, you know what? I bet you charged that through the USB port. And then in your mind, and that's exactly what I did to myself. So I went through every cable in this house. And I'm organized, but I went through the cables several times before I gave up. And I ended up making a cable, and it never hit me to charge it through the USB. So in my mind, I lost the cable, and I didn't lose the cable. That cable never existed. Okay, that's the worst kind. And the roll of duct tape, I remember when I bought it, I'm pretty sure it was a Kmart. I was talking to the guy, a salesman, and I bought the biggest freaking roll of duct tape they had. And it might have been 12 bucks. And I used it just to fix the totes for my recycling. It's a little bin, and it was breaking. And I don't know if I left it outside. I did take it out during the yard sale. It might have rolled down the yard into the street, and someone just clipped it at the yard sale. But I never bought a big roll of duct tape like that before. And I'm thinking, I'll have enough. I'll never run out. I lost the roll of tape. Never found it. I've gone up in the attic thinking maybe I went up real quick and was going to tape something, and then I didn't use it. I went through every room of this house, underneath every possible part. Maybe I hung it on something temporarily. That's the thing I did lose, and I never found it. Now, one of the amazing things with people are the keys. And I never could relate to losing the keys. When I sold my house in New Jersey, I gave them the keys to the door. It was a Schlage lock, original key that my parents gave to me when I was in 3rd grade. My mother got a job across the street, and she trusted me with a key. Now, my sister didn't have a key to the house because she kept losing them. And I was trusted, and they gave me this big speech with this key, and I never lost that key. I told you about the time I worked on my sister's car, and I went to set the keys down, and they tangled up in the wires for the radio I was going to fix. I carried the radio into the house. I went to clean up the car, the bezel and stuff for the radio, get it out of the way, so my sister could use the car while I was working on the radio. And I went through that car looking for that set of keys. I went around, checked the trunk, the whole thing. And I ended up, when I finally gave up, I said, let me go work on the radio. And there they were, wrapped around the wires for the radio. Okay? And I did find them. But that's another case of you're in one area looking for the piece, and you've already transferred or transported the thing you're looking for to a separate area on something else, stuck to something else. The other thing, too, is I went to, I can tell you, it was a Savage Hardware. And I bought a lawnmower, and I bought it with a credit card. And I got home, and right away I said, I need the receipt for my business. I was mowing people's lawns. So I go in my pocket, and, regular Lee jeans. Every pocket I check. I check every single pocket. and I can't find the receipt. So right away I think to myself, when I was coming out to my car, I dropped the receipt. So I went out to my car real quick. It wasn't there. I called my credit card up, and they canceled the card. Okay. Now, after I got off the phone, I'm still going through my pants pockets. The little watch pocket, the whole thing. I'm not kidding you. Okay. Go through it. The receipt is not there. All right. Now, a couple days later, I'm washing that pair of pants. Now, I learned that whenever you wash a pair of pants, you always check the pockets. Okay? Because you could have something really stupid in there that could mess up the washing machine. Well, anyway, I checked the pockets, and what comes out is the receipt. Now, it was folded really nice and really flat, so somehow it stuck down in the pocket, and it was unattainable. Now, if that receipt had been crumbled, I would have found it. But that's another word, disappearing objects phenomenon. And I'm standing there looking at this receipt going, you know, you go through your pockets 20, 30 times, right? You won't give up. You know you put the receipt in your pocket. Now, what I learned to do over that is whenever I get a receipt, I fold it up, I put it in my wallet, in where the money goes. And I changed where I put receipts. Okay? Now, dollar store receipts, they just go in my pocket. Now, you have an option in the dollar store. You tell them I don't want a receipt. But Walmart gives me a receipt, and I put it in the same pocket that my mask goes in after I'm outside of the store. But a lot of it comes down to your system of how you handle parts. Sometimes, like I said, with the tweezers, and this is a bigger pair of tweezers, but in other words, you set the tweezers back here, and then you move this back, okay, and then you don't see the tweezers. The other pair works better, but in other words, the thing you're missing is behind something, or you've transported it to another room, like the phone rang. I told you that story. I would be holding something in my hand, and then someone would ring the phone. I'd walk upstairs to the phone. I'd set the object down. Glasses are famous for that. You have your glasses on your head, the phone rings, you walk to the phone, or to your cell phone that's somewhere else. You take the glasses off while you're talking on the phone. You set them down. All right? Then you decide, maybe you might just close the cell phone up, or you might decide to put it in your pocket and take it back with you. Now your glasses have been transported, okay, to another time zone, and you're now back where you were working. And then you look down, you thought you set your glasses down in the one room, but you've transported them to a different country in the house. And your brain, you think you're going to remember, but you're not, because you're dealing with the telephone call. Or you set them down because you got to get a box down from the attic, or a box down from a shelf in a closet. So your glasses are for reading. So you take your glasses off, you set them down. Now you're looking at a distance at how the boxes are labeled. You see the box you want. Now your brain is like, that's what I want. I found it. Wow, I found it. Now you take the box, you walk through the house, you go back to where you want to work on it. You open the box up, and you're all excited because now you remembered where the item you wanted was. You open the box, there it is, but guess what? You set yourself up. Your glasses are where you got the box. Now you get the item out of the box, and you go for your glasses, and the fun begins, okay? You set yourself up, and your brain will not remember such a small task as removing your glasses and setting them down somewhere else. But if you go back, if you retrace your steps, you might find them. But what happens is you become so frustrated and frazzled that you'll find it hard to retrace your steps. Okay? You just have to sit down for a couple minutes and relax, and then realize, oh, I went in that room to get the box down. Maybe I have my glasses, and that's where they'll be. Okay? Now, what could be really bad is when you set them down on maybe a desk or a nightstand, they fell off the side. You didn't line it up right. So now your glasses aren't on the table when you go to that room. They're on the side of the table. You can't see them. You find them 2 months later when you're vacuuming that room. Okay? That's the stuff that you're like, I don't believe this. But with me, I sit down, I stop all work. I consider it's telling me to take a break, okay? And I sit down and I retrace my steps, and I almost always find it. But like I said, I never found that roll of duct tape. I figured out the sound tube charge cable, what happened to me there, okay? I took a USB plug, a USB cable, and cut it and wired my own plug on. But that wasn't the plug I used originally. That wasn't the type. I used the USB. But I totally forgot that you could charge a lot of different units through the USB plug, okay? They allow you different options to charge something. But it's amazing. And there are items you may never find again. And I told you, my one neighbor, she lost her keys at least once a month, and all her relatives had sets of keys. Her children had sets of keys. And it was like, no problem. And one day I just, in my front door of my house, I had two windows up on the top, and I'm tall and I could look out. And I look out and I see a set of keys in the street. So I pick them up. I told you a story before, I'm going to tell you again. I pick them up, I go up the steps to her house, I ring the doorbell, and I was starting to get dark. And that woman would not answer her front door when it was getting dark. All right? And I could see her looking out through the curtain at me, and I'm like really gesturing to her, get over here and open the damn door up. So she opens the door up, and I hand her her keys. Well, where did you find those? In the middle of the street. Well, how did they get there? I don't know how they got there. So now she puts them in her house coat. While she's talking to me, they immediately drop to the floor. And I said, you just dropped your keys. What? You just dropped your keys. You didn't hear them drop? She looks down. Well, what's going on? She had a big hole in the house coat. Okay, so that's probably one of the vortexes, or what would you call them? Black holes. One of her black holes for her keys was she had a house dress. It's like a coat they put over her dress, and it's got pockets and shit in it, and had a hole in it. So she put her keys in there. They would drop wherever she was. All right, but that woman, and I used to say to her, "Do you want me to keep a set of keys?" No, she didn't want me to have her keys. I had keys for everybody else's house, but not hers. But that's where the stuff goes to, and it's frustrating as hell, man. You know, especially you buy a stupid part to fix something, and you misplace it. Okay, or you actually clean up your bench, and that little piece sticks to something you throw out. And now it's in the garbage. You just ordered it. You threw it out. Now you go for it. And I always go through the garbage. I immediately put a freeze on all garbage going out of the house until I find the part. Okay? And never have I put it in the garbage. Now, my mother, every so many years, would get a new driver's license. My mother didn't drive, but every few years she would get a driver's license. And she'd rip up the wrong driver's license. Every time. Every 3 years, whatever it was, we would go through. And finally, one year her license came in, and I jumped in, I stepped in, I said, give me both of them. And she insisted on wanting to do it. And she was going to rip up the new one again. I don't know what was... This is what I grew up around. And they tell you, you can only equal the people, in most cases, that you grew up around. And it wasn't senility. I don't know what it was, but my mother would get the new driver's license and then rip it up and then have to order another one every freaking time. My mother didn't drive. She was too nervous to drive. But she could tell you how to drive. But this is the stuff you go through. But it's so funny. Like I said, my father would refuse to go out to the trunk of the car to get his tools. He doubled down. And he was cursing me under his breath all day because I would not loan him my tools. Okay? And I showed you on the one video the screwdriver that my father would always lose. And I caught him throwing the dustpans out. He'd finish sweeping up the floor with the dustpan, and he would tap the brush against the dustpan and then drop both of them in the garbage. And I would pull them back up and show it to him. And it was like I was showing him he killed somebody. He would refuse to look at it. And then my mother says, don't give him a dustpan and broom. It'll disappear. It didn't disappear. He had a knack that when he was done, his brain was in another planet, absent-minded, and he would throw the dustpan and broom out. Okay? Every time. And he'd actually, when you go into his room, he would be bending metal to make another dustpan. I'm not kidding you. It was just, well, I don't know. It was right here. I can't find it. I can't. And then when I was younger, we had this big fight. He claimed that I was misplacing his tools. And I was in the workshop with him for maybe a month. I couldn't take it anymore because every time he lost something, he blamed it on me. So I immediately moved to the other side of the cellar, in amongst chairs and stuff, with a real crappy little workbench. And I'd work there. And he'd constantly come over to me. Did you see this? I didn't see it. Where'd you have it last? That's what he always used to say to me. Where did you have it last? Okay? That's mean when you say that to somebody. You know, where did you have it last? You know, but that means retrace your steps. Okay? But it's frustrating as hell. And you can see my workbench here is messy. And when I lose a tool, you know, like even this, my favorite little miniature, I bought these sort of as a joke. These are Craftsman. And I use these for a lot of things. And when I can't find these, I melt down. But they're always in the drawer. They work their way to the back. And I showed you my work box, or my tool box. And sometimes a tool works its way to the back. You only pull the drawer out halfway and you don't see it. You start to panic. And of course, it really is where it should be. You know, like I'm seeing from here, I see a screwdriver that's on the wrong drawer. Okay, in the back, all the way in the back, as I'm telling you that. Okay, here it is. Oh, it's one of the famous screwdrivers that always disappear. Okay, it was on the wrong drawer. It got pushed all the way to the back. But I have 3 or 4 of these because this is the one my dad used to lose. And this is, you use this a lot, even as a little pry bar. And it's a very nice little screwdriver. And Sears sold sets of screwdrivers, and they also sold them singly. So if you lost one, and if you brought one in broken, they could give you one. They'd have to give you a whole set. I think that's it. All right, that's it.